to Super Speaking Talking Task for Teens by Alastair Grant, who's the DOS of San Isidro here in International House San Isidro here in Buenos Aires. He's also the Teacher Development Manager. And we are recording today's meeting, so if you have any qualms about being recorded, which means that some of your names will be seen here in the participants box, and we'll be able to see the chat that's coming through, please do feel free to chat and contribute in the chat box throughout the session. But if you don't want your contributions to be recorded, then I'm afraid you're going to have to leave the session because we do record it for people who can't be here today. They're not lucky enough to be here live with us online, sharing our words of wisdom. So without further ado, I shall move away and say goodbye and leave you with Alastair and his super speaking.
Thank you very much, Neil, for that beautiful introduction. Good morning, everybody, or afternoon or evening, depending where you are. I hope everybody is okay. I hope everybody is well. Today, we're talking about trying to get teenagers to talk a little bit in class. And the reason for this, the inspiration behind this, was actually a problem I had. I have many, but this was one I had in my first year of teaching. My then director of studies gave me a speaking class, a conversation class, and I thought, fantastic, this will be wonderful. She said to me, you know, you don't have to prepare anything. You can just crack on, go ahead, sit down, talk, board some vocabulary. And it was an adolescent class, an advanced adolescent class, and no, I thought this will be fantastic. Money for very little. This was my dream. Lots of teenagers sitting together, talking away, and unfortunately, it wasn't quite like that, very sadly. What actually happened was we started the class with some what I thought were going to be interesting things for them to talk about. This was the reality. Everybody was extremely bored. Nobody had the ganas, as we say here, the will to contribute. And I thought, well, what's going on here? What's the problem? I thought we had interesting topics. I got a lot of the topics from the students themselves, but they just didn't really seem that willing to contribute. And so I thought, well, okay, what's going on? How can I try and make this better for them, try and make it easier for them? So with a view to trying to sort that out, these are the aims of today's session. First of all, we're going to look at why it is that adolescents don't necessarily like speaking in the classroom. And also trying to help them basically becoming more comfortable with speaking from all levels, from elementary up to proficiency level, and getting them to enjoy the speaking process as well, not feeling like they're so on the spot all the time, even when we're looking at exam speaking. By that, I mean things like Cambridge, the main suite of exams for CAE and proficiency, which we'll be talking about a bit later. Also, trying to make sure that the students become more independent and self-confident by properly feeding back to them so that they realize that what they're producing in the class is useful not only for them in the moment, but for their future development as well, for their development as students. They don't like speaking out of class either, do they? Not particularly, no, I don't think so. It could be something to do with opportunity, etc., but that's exactly what we're going to be looking at today. First of all, though, I've got a little quiz for you. This is going to be the International House San Isidro Woody Allen Award for speaking. I have 3 geeky speaking questions for you guys. And all I want you to do while I put the slides up is stick in what you think the answers are in the chat box on the bottom right-hand corner of your screen, where you can see Zoe has said, "Hi, Tanya." So let's kick off with fear of speaking. I'm going to give you 3 words, for one of which only the definition is fear of speaking. Word number 1, ephibophobia. Do you think this means fear of speaking? Word number 2, glossophobia. This is your second option. Can you use this in your pub quiz on Sunday? Yeah, you can. Quickly write it down, or just maybe you just play the session to them. B is looking promising. Yeah, let's see. C also looks pretty promising. Verbophobia. So guys, what do we think? A, B, or C? Right, you've got 3 Bs, Fear of double swearing, having deja vu, fear of really still having this. Everyone's gone for the B. B, 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 B. Hello, Rob. How are you? C. We have a C. Someone's been A is the least obvious one. Vicky, Dosana Kappa. Right. Glossy's tongue in Greek, so I think B. Oh dear. Right. A. All these words exist, by the way. A. Ephibophobia is actually fear of teenagers. It's something that I still have whenever I walk into an adolescent class. I know your reading session on the Clockwork Orange. Aha, you're good. Good. All right. B, glossophobia. Most of you went for B, and you are all correct. Glossophobia is fear of speaking, normally fear of public speaking. And finally, C also exists, verbophobia, but verbophobia is fear of words. Who has fear of words? I'm not really sure, but apparently this condition, put it like that, exists. Okay. Native speaker vocabulary. This is for an average native speaker vocabulary at graduate level. I'm going to give you a certain amount of words. 3 options. Do you think the average native speaker vocabulary for a graduate is 8,000 words, 6,000 words, or C, 9,000 words? Answers in chat box, please. Quickly, quickly, quickly. 6,000. Lots of people gone for A. Emma's gone for C. A, lots of A's, C's. Nobody wants B, do they? Oh, Zoe wants B. Good, we're getting a bit more confident. Tempted to say B. B, 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 B. Right, Reza, we have so convinced that it's B, she is, that it's B, 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 B. Okay, the answer is apparently 9,000. Actually, between 9 and 14,000 words. This is like a huge margin for error for me, and somebody was really hedging their bets. Apparently that's the average native speaker vocabulary for a graduate. There was a, thank you Reza, there was a man, a gentleman who had apparently a vocabulary of 60,000 words, who is no longer with us as of about 400 years ago. Zoe Shakespeare. Let's see. Yeah, it was William Shakespeare, and apparently this gentleman contributed over 10,000 words to the English language, but who's counting? Yeah, you got it, Zoe. Okay, good. Final slide. Of the 4 communication skills, reading, listening, speaking, writing, what is the average percentage of time spent doing those 4 things? I've got 4 different percentages for you. They are all mixed up, though. Is put down what you think the average time is, so, or percentage of time is. So let's start with listening. Which one do you think the listening is? You got 4 choices: 15, 5, 50, 30% for listening. Okay, we've got 30%. Many going for 50 here. Yeah, apparently it is 50% of time spent listening. All right, what about speaking in that case? Yeah, everyone's going for 30, 30, 30. Correct, it is 30. Very good. And what about writing in that case? 5, 5, 5. Well, you guys are pretty good. Here are your figures. Yeah, apparently 5% of time spent writing and 15% of the time spent reading. So speaking is like the second largest percentage of amount of time in terms of communication between people and speaking in English. So it's certainly a skill that needs quite a lot of attention. But like we were saying, especially adolescences, yeah, between men and women. I'm not saying anything, Georgina. Especially with adolescents, they are quite reticent often about this sometimes. And right now we're going to be looking at reasons for that. For example, maybe, example 1, they are scared of making mistakes, which is often happens. We are judged by our peers, I think, all the time, especially adolescents in class. You've got that much more pressure when you're trying to fit into a group, I think, as an adolescent. What other reasons might there be for why adolescents might be a bit reticent about speaking in class? I've got 6 reasons here, and I want you guys to type up some of your own ideas in the chat box, and we'll see if yours concur with the ones that I've got on my slide. We have a men-women conversation going on down here. Too busy sleeping, quite possibly. What else, guys? What other reasons might there be? Yeah, Nick, exactly. Fear that content of what they say will be judged. I constantly feel like that whenever I'm speaking to Sean, actually. Might be a bit shy in real life, unnatural to speak in a foreign language. Think what they have to say won't be interesting, too shy. Good, one more. Not cool to speak English. It's not cool. Yeah, exactly, nothing to say. Yeah, all of the above, basically. These are the ones that I had. Fear of embarrassing themselves. It's Sean, I know, but I still love you. I'm judging your spelling, by the way. It's not cool to speak English in a teenage class, absolutely. It's very tiring as well to concentrate on producing another language. I find this in Spanish all the time. Even after 6 years, Spanish is absolutely terrible, and I do find it tiring. Sorry, Sean. I know it's all about fluency rather than accuracy, right? Speaking English is difficult, and it's not fun. Basically, I think you guys came up with all of these yourselves, which is perfect. But why is it so important that students do speak English, and in any case? The great Martin Biodata came up with this aphorism. It is the skill by which they are most frequently judged, and through which they make or lose friends. It is the vehicle par excellence of social solidarity, of social ranking, of professional advancement, and of business. I think that's no small thing to say. The vehicle par excellence of social solidarity, etc., especially for adolescent students. Like we were just saying, it's so important for them at that time to want to fit into the group formed. But of course, it's not that simple. Biodata also came up with this model for speaking, in which he thought there were 4 parts to the entire process, which I've put up on the slide for you here. Well, let's say 3 stages plus something that looks over the entire process. I've removed the letters from these slides because you guys, I'm sure, should really know this. And what I would like you to do is try and fill in the missing words. So we've got the 3 slides at the top. Planning the message content, something of the words and phrases to find meaning, to express meanings. Thirdly, something involved in control of the speech organ. So what do we think, guys? Wow, that was quick, Joanna. Well done. Yeah, conceptualization. Lisa, you're too good. You're too good, damn it. Perfect. Basically, everyone, what Lisa said, conceptualization, planning the message is why we love you. Formulation of the words and phrase to express the meanings of the concept that you want to express, and the actual physical articulation when somebody speaks. And just like Lisa said, this sort of big brother figure in one's mind overlooking the entire process, terribly 1984, is self-monitoring. It's sort of looking at you saying, you must try harder, or well done, that wasn't so bad. So apart from this entire process, there was another very famous gentleman who I'm sure you've all heard of, called Stephen Krashen, who came along and said, all right, fair enough, Martin. On top of that, though, we've got this little thing, the affective filter. Low anxiety, high motivation, and high self-esteem and self-confidence lead to better second language development because of the presence of an affective filter, which, when raised, blocks language input from entering the individual's language acquisition. That feeling of when you are nervous, when you're bored, when you're scared, when there's anything, perhaps emotionally, let's say, which might get in the way of your production, suddenly it's like you've got this filter in front of you, and it's to overcome that. So how to overcome this kind of thing? I had a student in my first year here called Raul, who I will never forget, who had a reasonably good level of English on paper, as it were, but the guy just couldn't produce at all. And one of the things that really helped him with that, this is an activity adapted from Scott Thornbury's fantastic book, How to Teach Speaking, or Teaching Speaking, I think it's called, is flowcharts. Flowcharts, that was good grammar, wasn't it? The idea is, as you can see here, that the students have very clear turn-taking signals or cues all the time. All they have to do is follow them. One of the problems with Raul is he just felt, he just couldn't do it himself. He didn't know what was going to come next. So what you guys are going to do now, just to make it a little bit more difficult, given that you're all English language teachers, etc., is fill in the missing parts of this yourselves. It says, use the cues below to role-play a telephone conversation with a friend. One of you was ill and didn't go to class today. So the terms on the left I have blacked out. The first one being dial number, and the second interlocutor answers telephone. So what do you think the second stage is? Emma is typing. Emma is typing. Multiple attendees are typing. Chin, 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 chin. Say hello. Say hello. Greeting, greeting, greeting. Say hello and give your name. Greet friend. Right, let's see. Hi, how are you? Greeting. Hello, it's whoever. Yeah, greet and say who you are. Perfect. Next stage, return greeting. Ask why friend wasn't at class. Okay, and the next turn on the one on the right says, say you are sorry, ask if you can help with anything. So what do you think the missing one is in the middle of those two? Give some bad news, give reason, explanation, sort of sob story. Totally ratted, got lost on the way. Yeah, that almost fits in that box. Okay, let's see. Say you are ill. Good, guys, well done. Explanation, right. So yeah, say you're sorry, ask if you could do anything to help. And the big black box in the middle, between that and offer your book, what do you think that's going to say? Say what they can do to help. Yes, Lucy. Cheeky, cheeky, cheeky. Ask for help to compensate. Ask what you missed in English class. Say thanks. Ask about the class you missed. Great, here we go. So, say you can't do the homework, excuse me, because you haven't got your textbook. Express worry about missing class. Great, you've got exactly the right idea. Good. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. All right, off your book is the next turn on the right. And the following one is say you'll come this evening and say goodbye. So, what do we have there? When can you come? That'd be great. Thanks. Okay, accept offer. Great, 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 great. Yeah, accept. Zoe, you're a genius. And 2 points to Zoe. Tell friend where you live. So coming towards the end, say you'll come this evening and say goodbye. Laters. In it. Say goodbye. In Palermo, they say laters, which is Sicilian slang, apparently. This is quite a, how should I put it, maybe a basic, a very structured, scaffolded flowchart. The next one is much freer. Often in Argentina, they would say, I don't know what to say, no me sale, as in I can't get out what I'm trying to express. It's not, in terms of the conceptualization stage, it's not they don't have the idea, it's just that they can't necessarily come out with it. This is a much more open flowchart for slightly more competent speakers, let's put it like that. With this one, this could be about anything. Again, it's adapted from Scott Thornberry's teaching speaking. There is, on the bottom left, there is a link to a website which teaches you as a teacher how to make flowcharts in English for language teaching. It's a very good website, and if I can use it, then anybody can use it basically. And this is a much more open one. Greet B, greet A, offer B something. Could be about anything. Could be about asking somebody on a date. Except if you then insisted, perhaps that might be a bad idea. Into the stage when you're insisting on a date, then you're probably not going to get any further. Okay, another activity in terms of scaffolding the students and building up the different parts of their speaking and trying to get them to talk is an exercise that I started using a few years ago. When was it now? Well, I think in my second year or third year in Buenos Aires. How we met. This is a story of a friend of mine from Buenos Aires and how this friend of mine is girlfriend. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put the pictures of this story up on the slides, and what I want you to do is tell me what happens in each stage. There are 6 pictures, and we're going to do it relatively quickly so that we can move on. So, first of all, what's the first stage of this this story? Chen, chen, chen. You went to a Boca game. No, I didn't. We got L152 going to La Boca. Okay. There's a seat next to you on the bus, the only one that's free on the same bus. I think I know this story. Yeah, Johnny, you might well do. You got the wrong bus going home. Happens very often. Yeah, they met on a bus, and this person is English, and this doesn't really happen in London. Like, if you tried to start talking to somebody on a bus in London, they would call the police and get you arrested and locked away. Yes, Neil, that has happened to me many, many times before. And she started talking to him. So the next stage is obviously bus nutter. He turned into Ethan Hawke. Yeah, that's exactly right. He turned into Ethan Hawke. She turned into Julie Delpy, which doesn't often happen. We get along rather well. Thank you, Lisa. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. We're not on the date stage yet, Kate, but you're getting there because the next stage is what? I'm obviously getting on the wrong 152. The exchange number's great. Okay. Yeah, Lucy, not quite yet. It's getting to that stage. He needs to upgrade his phone. Yeah, definitely. He finds her or she phones him. Good. It's the taking number stage we're at here, because then, what did he do? Here's my number, so call me maybe. Johnny, I'm going to have to kick you out of the room for that. Yeah, he texts her, exactly. And not quite, Kate. This is the thing. This person is far too scared to make any kind of phone call and speak in Spanish, so texting was definitely the order of the day. And so after that, what happened? Yeah, classy, absolutely. Yeah, this guy, all right, so they go out for a classy meal. Yeah, well, you know, McDonald's in Argentina is quite a fashionable place to go. So, you know, this guy knew what he was doing. 2 fun offer at McDonald's. Okay, perfect. And so finally, the last slide, they got together. Sorry about the slightly sick-inducing nature of the final slide, but you know, you get the idea. So what was the point of this, apart from doing exactly what you have just done, which is showing the students the stages of this getting together story and getting them to say what was happening, just like you have done at each stage. Apart from that, it's a different bloke. Yeah, he'd grown his hair by that point, what can I tell you? Apart from that, then I asked the students, okay, well, what would have happened, for example, if my friend hadn't got on exactly that bus, or if my friend had left his apartment 5 minutes later? If he had left his apartment 5 minutes later, he wouldn't have got on that bus, and if he hadn't got on that bus, etc., etc. Yeah, Lisa, exactly. Gets their interest and gives them visual prompts. And then they are starting to say, in a third conditional style, what would have happened if X hadn't happened or had happened. The idea then was to get the students to talk about and do the same thing for themselves. Perhaps go home, and what I had done is to get them to go home, get some pictures together of, for example, of how their parents had met, or how they'd met their boyfriend or girlfriend, or how they'd met their best friend, and put the pictures in, well, 6 pictures together and do exactly the same thing, and then tell the class what happened. And then they could go into the whole conditional aspect of it as well. But apart from that, one of the issues I think with speaking with adolescents, adults, myself in Spanish, is always feeling like I'm not fluent, basically because I'm not. But I think that one of the things that helps with that, definitely, and for our students as well, obviously, is trying to help them when they stop when they are speaking. I have a student who does this now, who his level is perfectly good, but what he does is he will just stop when he's trying to think of something, and he'll look up over here somewhere, and it's difficult because, you know, then he's not holding the floor, and people's attention, with the best will in the world, kind of drift. Going back to the great Scott Thornbury, he came up with what I think is a really nice and quite a liberating expression. Fluency is not so much speaking fast as pausing less. I really like this idea. In Argentina, I do sometimes get the feeling that the idea of fluency is to speak as fast as humanly possible, probably at quite people think you're arguing or something. And in fact, when I read this, I thought, no, that's a really good point. It's not about speaking quickly. It's about you need to continue to hold the floor when you want to get somebody's attention. So, what kind of ideas or what kind of tropes, let's say, features of speaking would help with that? When you need that half second to think or a second to think, there are words that we use all the time in English. Little crutches, exactly. Fillers, to buy time, Joanna, exactly. This is it. Here they're called muletillas. We have them in Spanish and in English in equal measure, I'm sure. There are many of these things. Yep, back channeling as well. Yeah, precisely. Yes, really, etc. But for the people who are actually producing themselves, the one who's trying to hold the floor, I think fillers is perhaps the important point. Nick, you said and I do all the time. It's terrible to hear myself when I do it. But linguistic fillers, sorry, lexical fillers. Give me an example of some lexical fillers rather than just sounds. Chin, chin, chin. Yeah, good. Okay, you know what? I mean, I think, hang on a second, Dinham, English, actually, sort of. Yeah, perfect. I mean, good. So all of these words, Scott Thornbury on this slide, it says he calls them islands of reliability, and I have to admit I quite like that expression. All of these kind of words, I think it's great for students to know that they can use these words in English. It's often said that when doing public speaking, for example, you shouldn't use fillers. And I think in reality, in like an interactional conversation, we do use fillers all the time. This is an example of 6 of them. And I think what is very good to do is to try and get students to focus on the fact that they can use fillers and raise their awareness of the fact that these things exist in English in equal measure as they do in Spanish. We're going to do a little activity in a few seconds to show you how you can do this with students. You see you've got in front of you what is essentially a bingo type list of 6 different fillers. Like, sort of, I mean, well, kind of. What I want you guys to do is when you hear this recording is to stick in the chat box the fillers that you hear. You will not hear all of them. You'll hear 4 out of the 6 fillers. So the students have to pay attention. It's not like they can just tick any of them. And the recording you're going to hear is a teenage girl called Rosie. And Rosie's been involved in a campaign to save a tree, a very old tree in the town where she lives. And she's talking about the success of this campaign to a journalist. It's an interview.
What was the campaign about? Well, there was a big and a beautiful tree near my house. It was really important to me because when I was little, I used to like play in the tree. So it was special.
Okay, so hopefully now the recording has stopped for you. Let's see, we've got lots of sort ofs, likes, you know, well. Great, look at all this. Perfect, perfect, perfect. Plus the dragging words. This is great. Really, really good. So yeah, this is exactly the idea. They are supposed to have these, the bingo list in front of them. They tick off the words that they hear to raise the students' awareness of the fact that we do use fillers in English. This is an activity from a course book called Energy 4, and I think it's really, really useful for students to focus on that. Okay, so that's raising their awareness of it. Then what are they supposed to do? Well, I would say prior to this, I've done this with a lower intermediate class before. Prior to this, they are supposed to have a conversation about whatever topic you decide in class, whatever's going on at the time. Totally your decision, or the student, very dogme. And what they are supposed to then do after you've raised their awareness of the fact that there are these fillers, you can do a live listening for this as well, which might in many ways be better. And they are then supposed to talk in pairs again, repeat the task. And in front of them, they can have a little pot of Cuisinart rods. It doesn't have to be Cuisinart rods. It can be paper clips, coins, you know, whatever. It really doesn't matter. But the idea is that they are in pairs together and they are speaking. And whenever they feel the need to pause, they can just take a Cuisinart rod out of the pot. What happened the first time I did this in class was that they needed to pause relatively frequently, and by the time they had finished their conversation, I let it go on for only like 2 or 3 minutes, was they had these little piles of Cuisinart rods in front of them, which showed them how useful these fillers were, and how they can use them to give them that half-second or a second's thinking time space before they produce the next utterance. So that, and yeah, I'll just say this will demonstrate how useful they are. I think it's a really good tool for students to help to get them to sound more fluent. Speaking of fluency, you've probably all seen this phrase before. Very difficult, or should I say, very difficult. You may have heard this before. When the person in question said this phrase repeatedly, it was quite a feature of popular culture at the time. And I wonder if any of you know who said this. I'm going to give you a clue. No one's put anything in the chat box yet. Ah, Robbie's typing. Yay! Here we go. Suddenly Argentina are waking up. Here we go. Tevez. Yeah, this gentleman plays football for Manchester United, although it has been pointed out that I've got my teams wrong or something. And yeah, this is Carlos Tevez. Here he is, a beautiful man. No, he bloody doesn't think Sean. Man City, isn't it? Well, didn't he used to play for Manchester United? I'm pretty sure on that shirt I can see the Manchester United shield. Anyway, yeah, I thought so. Yeah, he was there at the time. Thank you. Traitor. Not a good pick. No, but Vicky, really, there aren't that many, it has to be said. Okay, yes, he said very difficult. He was talking, this is one of his first interviews that you're going to see in a second, and he was struggling. And what I want you to, while you watch this video, is to say,
Move. And I was looking at you.
Great, so what have we got? How he didn't get sent down is beyond me. Spending
In the
some time
dugout,
in jail. It's terribly
where you
Victorian, Sean. He's a blue through and through now, yeah. Trying to catch flies. West Ham. Right, any random bloke from the stands could have helped him. Vicky says a teacher. The interviewer could have helped him out. Yeah, absolutely. Well, let's imagine that there was a third person involved in the interview. What kind of a third person could have helped him out? Chen, 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 chen. Here we go. An interpreter, a translator. Yeah, very good, guys. That might have been quite helpful. This is a really fun activity to do with students in class. 3 students, first of all, deciding on a celebrity. So having, for example, someone be a celebrity, somebody be an interviewer, and somebody be an interpreter. So you could choose 3 random celebrities from the country. For example, he didn't want to answer the question. No, you're probably quite right. So, for example, who is this man? Maradona. Yeah, great, 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 great. Yes. Okay. And this lady? Oh my goodness, Sean. Yes, good. Salma Hayek. And you have no idea the fun that I had trying to find pictures of Salma Hayek on Google image search. Gentlemen, I do recommend it. Okay, and last picture, who is this man? Not everybody's so sure about this one. No clue. No, this is not Penelope Cruz. He's a blonde man. I'm joking, Lucy. Bastian Schweinsteiger. Perfect. Emma and Nick, what a team you two are. Look at that. Yeah, Bastian Schweinsteiger. Emma probably knows. Yeah, she does. Obvio. Bastian Schweinsteiger, midfielder for Bayern Munich, also plays for the German national team. So, yeah, the idea is that you have somebody be a famous person who can only speak the L1, you have an interviewer, and you have an interpreter. Conduct an interview with the interpreter facilitating the communication. This is so much fun to do with students because you have one student who is finally allowed to only speak in the L1. Here, obviously, that would be Spanish or Castellano, and they are finally allowed to do that in class. And it's very funny when you have the interpreter translating for them and the interviewer obviously asking whatever questions have been set up. And it gets a student thinking about features such as the body language people use when speaking. What word would that be? Prosodic, physical, peripheral. Look at this. Paralinguistic. I'm impressed. Could be any of these, really, couldn't it? Let's say paralinguistic, perhaps pragmatic. But all those features, the body language rather than actual lexical communication pertinent, quite. Okay, very good. So yeah, this is an idea which would allows the students to speak in the L1 as well, which can be quite a lot of fun. We were talking earlier on about the possibility of trying to make exam speaking interesting for students. And one of the features of exams, as you know, the Cambridge main suite of exams is, well, I'll show you the pictures and then you can tell me how this might be useful. Here is a beautiful picture of Britney Spears back in 1999. Now, Britney herself has not always had such luck in her life, let's put it like that, and she hasn't always looked like this. In fact, what words could you use to describe her in this picture? Let's see, wholesome, innocent, wholesome, innocent looking, cuddly, fake, wow, naive, yes. Yeah, she looks slightly coy, doesn't she? Sweet and innocent. Yeah, that's one way of putting it, I suppose. Well, like we were just saying, she hasn't always, well, she didn't always look like that afterwards. Back in 2007, things were not going quite so well for Britney. University prospectus cover, yeah. There were no girls at Warwick University, I'll tell you that. Back in 2007, this was Britney then. What kind of adjectives could we use to describe Britney here? Sinead O'Connor, smooth. Yes, well, physically, I suppose that's true. Too alternative. Johnny Clemmer, too alternative. Got it. Scary, wasted. Yeah, trendy. Trendy is one way of putting it, I suppose. I think I'm going to go for the slightly more negative, wasted, sad, depressed, etc. Yeah, definitely. In what kind of part of a speaking exam, let's think of the Cambridge main suite of exams, could you perhaps use these two photos? Speaking part 2, right, yeah, exactly. Let's think about first certificate, for example, just picking that one as an example. They have to compare and contrast photos, and obviously these will be photos that in an ideal world they've never seen before. They don't tend to involve celebrities, but these are people that the students will know about, and they will also know about these parts of Brittany's life, let's say. And you can get them to come up with, for example, this is a bit more CAE level perhaps, but with discourse markers in order to compare and contrast the pictures. What I would like to do is ask somebody to, well, in fact, anybody, let's do this in the chat box for now. Is put in the chat box what kind of words you could use to, or what kind of discourse markers you could use in these phrases. For example, the first one, in this picture, she seems to be, in this picture, she's not so, yeah, exactly, Lisa. However, whereas, yeah, good. On the other hand, great, yeah, that's took the words right out of my mouth with one of those. She looks innocent in 99, however, in 2000, she must be a real whatever it is. In 2007, she seems to have some problems, let's say, whereas in 1999, she must have been much happier. But on the other hand, she is posing for the camera there. Somebody mentioned she looks like a university prospectus cover. And I think it's a very good idea when students are doing this to have perhaps those discourse markers in front of them on a piece of paper, so they know what they are and they can use them whilst they're practicing with this. This is kind of exam practice by stealth, as it were. Other celebrities that could be involved. Here is Maradona yet again. When do you think this picture was taken? Vicky, obviously first one up there. I'm so, oh no, Emma, sorry, 86, 86? Yeah, I'm pretty sure, Emma? Yeah, 86 versus 78, I believe. And frankly, if Emma and Rob say it's 86, then it's 86. So this is 1986, a few games after the hand of God. Yeah, that's kind of the important point for us English, isn't it? Maradona did not always look like that back in 2002. Yeah, good point, Neil. Back in 2002, he looked slightly different. He looked like this. One could possibly use different adjectives to describe how he looked there. Slightly different in that picture back in 2002. Yes, Vicky. Or Emma, sexy. Well, okay. So many things I could say, but I won't. Yeah, he looks kind of different. No way. Exactly. Got centre first Brazil in 82. Okay, bueno. Football trivia. Apart from the great Maradona, this is Michael Jackson. I think this is Michael Jackson. I think this was a picture taken during first album, which I think was Off the Wall album. The one before, what's it called? The one before Thriller, anyway. But this is back in, I think, late 70s, early 80s. Yeah, it could be Vicky. It could be. I think it may have been the one before. Again, Michael Jackson hasn't always looked like that as well. Back in 2000, and when was this? 3 or 2004, I think, he looked like this. Slightly different. Yeah, quite. And again, the idea of this is celebrities that that students know of, that students know about, and they can compare and contrast themselves, and they can come up with ideas about the differences between how they look. Okay. Apart from that, apart from comparing and contrasting, etc., getting students to describe different things verbally is also very, very useful for them. And one way of helping them with this, I'm going to show you a very short clip of a video from a very famous
I don't want kids.
Okay, hopefully the video is finished for all of you. Let's see, what have we got? Speed dating, speed dating, speed dating, speed dating. Was he in Neighbours? Which one? Possibly one of them was. Anyway, yeah, this is a speed dating event. And a very fun activity to get students to do with this is to do speed dating in class. Not necessarily hooking students up with each other. I'm not sure how happy parents would be with that. But nonetheless, the idea is that you can get students to, let's say, be different language points that you're trying to teach. First of all, get them into two teams, boys and girls, respectively, okay? And obviously, you know, there's not going to be an equal amount of boys and girls in every team, so some understanding is probably necessary. Give them perhaps a tense or a word or a phrasal verb to be. Let's say you're going to choose that they are going to revise adjectives of personality, okay? And they're going to be a word. They're going to be, for example, I don't know, cheerful or witty or something. And the idea is that they are going to be opposite each other, just like in speed dating, and they have, let's say, 1 or 2 minutes to describe to the other person what they are. The other person in front of them, their date, as it were, has to try and work out what they're going to be. So, for example, if it's witty, I'm intelligent and funny all at the same time, and I make people laugh, and I'm often invited to dinner parties. Sadly, none of this is true about myself. The example I've got down there is somebody being perhaps the present simple I'm used to describe. Thank you, Johnny. Exactly, to describe a habit or routine. And the other person is supposed to guess. They then swap around after 2 minutes or even 1 minute, and the team that have guessed the most correct answers at the end wins. And all the students get to speak to each other, which is the idea of it. This is exactly what I'm going to do with you guys right now. For example, this slide I've got up here, you've got 2 personality adjectives here, one selfish and one honest. So, for example, if somebody was selfish, they might say that, well, I'm the kind of person who, or I want everything for myself. If I have something, I'm not going to share it with anybody. And the person did opposite them has to say, selfish, fantastic. Right, so with a view to trying to show you how this works, I'm going to need 2 volunteers, unfortunately for you guys, to come on the microphone now. In fact, maybe I might just pick a couple of people. Let's see. Who has, well, first of all, I guess we need to know who has sound. Lisa, how do you feel about coming on the microphone? Silence from Lisa. Chen, 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 chen. Do I have to? Please, Lisa, you'll be so good at this, I promise you. What's Zoe going to say? No, Mick. Okay, here we go. This is the excuse time. So Lisa can. Who else could? Ticky, ticky, ticky. Johnny doesn't have a microphone. What about Gavin. What about you, Gavin? Do you have a microphone? Yes, sorry, I know. Ah, Gavin, perfect, right. How about Lisa and Gavin in that case? How do you feel about that, guys? Yes? I hope mine works. Well, let's see. What I'm going to do, first of all, is I'm going to send you both a personality adjective in as a private message, and so that nobody else can see it, but that you guys can, obviously. And you need to describe to the other person when you come on the microphone in a second what personality adjective you are. And the next question is, where exactly have I written them down? Okay, here we go. Right. So, Gavin, here is yours. Sorry about this one, Gavin. And let's find Lisa. Now, where are you, Lisa, Lisa, Lisa? There you are. Chin, 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 chin. Right. Lisa, here is yours. Okay. So, can you both just confirm that you've got your adjectives, please?
Can you hear me?
Oh, yes, I can hear you, Lisa. Yes, I can hear you, Gavin. Perfect. Okay. Right. Well, I'm going to come off the microphone for a second, and all I want you to do is describe which personality adjectives you are to each other, and you guys.
Hi, I'm not polite. I often tend to insult people without really thinking about their feelings. I don't really listen. Yep, I'm rude. I can't hear Lisa.
Oh, sorry. I am here, but I don't think that I'll be
Lisa,
able
you
to
there?
do this task very well, you know, because I'm really
You're
not very good with language or words in general. You know, so it's going to be really tough for me.
Be quiet.
quiet, shy. Zoe's close. Zoe's close. Reserved.
Reticent.
Johnny's even closer. Johnny is super close with this one. Reticent. Let's think of a word that is gloss. It's pretty close to all of those.
Modest.
Brilliant. And well done, Gavin, for guessing as well. Yes, we are modest. All right, thank you so much, both of you. That was a perfect example of how this activity works. Perfect. Very, very good. Okay, so here are some, I mean, there are those personality adjectives. There's obviously all sorts you could do. I've done this recently. Lower advanced 1 class revising personality adjectives. This is exactly what they did. Once they'd guessed, they had to switch around. Yeah, it is a lot of fun, Joanna, I have to say. It's really, really good fun. Right, moving on quickly. Another way of getting students to speak to each other, and this is also going to help with writing, bizarrely. Well, I'll show you why in a second. Byrne says the competition provides a valuable force to a purposeful use of language. Indeed it does, and none more so than debating with students. The idea is that students come up with emotion, or you come up with emotion, however you prefer to play it. For example, reality shows are the best kind of TV. Students in 2 groups, again, a bit like with the speed dating, but they have 2 groups prior to the debate to work out what their arguments are going to be. They have a limited amount of time for this because you don't want them writing whole phrases or paragraphs for their arguments, just ideas, because the point is they're supposed to produce orally. You monitor as a facilitator, help them with any language, etc. Then in pairs, the students come up to the front and debate. Now, they're only doing this for 1 minute. So they're not exposed for a particular length of time, and they're then supposed to swap with the next person in their group. And the idea is that after that, the other people on the team have to listen very carefully, because they're going to have to pick up where the last person left off. And one of the reasons for doing that, is, while they are debating for and against, you as a teacher can then be filling up the whiteboard with all the for and against ideas that they've got. And before you know it, they have got all the for and against ideas for their for and against writing that they might have to do, either for a normal general language class or for an exam level class. They've got all the content of it right up there. It's effective, quite an effective task. Okay. Now, another issue is turn taking in speaking. We were talking about turn taking a little earlier on. In England, whenever I go back, I'm always surprised by how this seems to work. My friends in a pub, for example, one person will speak and then another person will speak. In Argentina, things tend to be quite different. People all seem to speak together and on top of each other all the time. And it took me a while to get used to this. There are, certainly within the classes though, there are different types of learners in that way, and we're all being told about different learning styles as well. Sicilians are a nightmare. Yeah, well, it's kind of the same in Buenos Aires. It's, for example, yeah, like I was saying, in Argentina, this is often how it works. Everybody talking on top of each other, but getting them to respect turn taking in a certain way is quite useful as well. So, for example, we all know that there are all these different types of learning styles. Yes, you're lovely, Vicky, especially you. For example, activists and pragmatists in classes. You've probably seen this kind of terminology, this type of meta-language before. What kind of students are activists and pragmatists in terms of production when they speak? Yeah, gotcha. Everyone's gone quiet all of a sudden. Come on, guys, you remember this? Honey and Mumford, activists and pragmatists? No? Oh, here we go. Chin, chin, chin. Nope. Dale, Zoe, yes, you know. Jumping in there, taking risks. Yeah, basically, that is a nice and way of, in a nutshell, that's it. Yeah, get down to it. Yeah, precisely. They need to experiment with new language as soon as possible. The activists and pragmatists, they don't want to hang around and wait. They want to get right in there and do it, like you guys have just said. Absolutely perfect. Whereas theorists and reflectors, on the flip side of the coin, they're quite different. What do they tend to do? Yeah, precisely. They like to process. Emma, think and reflect. Although I have to say you're right. Think, analyze. Yeah, sit back is a nice way of putting it, Johnny. Yeah, sitting back, taking time to digest new language, etc. They're more reticent. They need time to, like it says here, assimilate, or like Georgina says, absorb. Yeah, they're very, like Nick says, concerned with being correct. So this may seem like an obvious thing to do. I always forget to do it, though, is combining the activists, let's say, and the theorists in class. Now, when I say combining them, it's not just making it so that you've got one person talking all the time, one activist talking all the time, and another one not saying anything, but trying to get the activists to ask questions of the theorists and the reflectors, so that they're making sure that the other person definitely gets involved, and one of them's just not sitting back. And also, as we know, monitoring behind students is a very good idea when you're speaking. What tends to happen if, when they're speaking, you're monitoring in front of them? If they're speaking in pairs and you're in front of them and you're monitoring, and you stop in front of a group, what tends to happen? Yeah, self-awareness, and they stop. They will ask you questions on how to say things. Yeah, suddenly, exactly. suddenly the conversation between the two of them stops, and either they involve you in conversations asking you how to say something, but basically suddenly there are three people involved in the conversation, and monitoring behind them is a much better idea in that case. Well, look, the time is now 10 o'clock, and I'm going to go over time, I'm afraid, by probably about 5 or 6 minutes. And I hope, yes, Nick, this often happens, and I hope that's okay with everybody. It'll probably be only 5 minutes more, so if everyone's happy to stay, that will be fantastic. And we don't want to lose anybody. Great, Vicky. Yes, so apart from the monitoring, apart from worrying about or thinking about learning styles in the classroom, right at the beginning, we were talking about feedback. Very important for students, as we know. And why? Well, when this is what we're going to be talking about on this slide. When you're doing, let's say, delayed feedback, Lisa, you have raised your hand. Did you mean to raise your hand? I don't know. If you did, please put something in the chat box. No, okay, don't worry about it then. What would go in here? Pick up the P aspects as well as the N aspects of what students have said during a speaking activity. Wow, Emma, that was extremely economical. Yeah, positive and negative aspects. So that you're not just putting up a board full of negative stuff during your delayed feedback after a speaking activity, so that they can see that there is successful use of the language in class as well. So they don't realize, okay, they don't think, right, all of it, why are we bothering? Apart from that, and the second time I've done this, given you the answer to this one as well, board some examples of good language as well as improvable language for the students to identify. So they can say, okay, well, yeah, that looks like it was good, and this we can make a bit better, so that you're pushing them a bit more demand high, let's say. Another example is this. Perhaps a sentence that a student has said. I had a student say, what did she say? It was raining highly when she left the party. But what would be the, let's say, the correct collocation for that? Yeah, maybe cats and dogs. Heavily, yeah, precisely. It was raining heavily when she left the party. So the idea of that, of course, is that it could have been a correct or an incorrect sentence with a collocation, but for the person who said it, it's like positive reinforcement for what they said and reactivates it in the minds of the people who didn't know. But yeah, and it's a collocation, and it could be bucket, absolutely. But those kind of expressions, it will help them. It will fix it in their heads. Okay, so we are now on to our final activity. Music videos, I think, are a great source of activities for students. The reason being that many music videos are like very, very small, let's say 3-minute long short stories. And I think a good activity to do with these to help students with both their listening and obviously their speaking is to show them a music video but pausing it periodically. For example, this young lady is Lily Allen. For those of you who do not know her, she is an English singer and can tend to be quite controversial, let's put it like that, in terms of her delivery. This is a song called Smile, which I'm pretty sure that most of you will have heard before, even if you don't recognize the name. Some of you may have even seen the video before too. I've got 6 questions for you here to one of the questions. And the idea is for you, or for your students in terms of teaching, they have to predict what it is that's going to happen next. Okay, hopefully that has paused for all of you guys as well, the video. What do we got? Dump, 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 dump.
When you first left me,
Hopefully that's paused at the right time. I sort of had a video lag. What have we got? Good English sound, yeah, I agree. Trash his house, beat him up, teach him lesson. Chocolate. What do you think he pays people to do? Chocolate. It's an interesting answer. Do him in. I like it. Have him taken out. Right, let's see. Okay, and why do you think she has invited him to go to the cafe with her? What possible motivation could she have for doing that? To distract him. Psycho. Some horrible psychological torture. Decoy, distractor, so they can trash his house. Ooh, spooky, Kate, spooky. Show him what he's been missing out on, could be, while her friends go into his house. Cyanide in his tea. Oh my goodness.
you say that you want me back. Right, what do you think she has put in his tea? I don't think I'd call it dancing, Vicky. What have we got? Laxatives, laxatives. VM assistant. Gosh, look at this. All right, let's see. Let's see what it is that she has put in his tea.
Okay, so I suppose the next question is, what do you think is going to happen with his records now? I mean, what do you think his job is, this guy? Or maybe his hobby? DJ, says Gavin. DJ, DJ, DJ? DJ. Yes, right. Perfect. So what do you think is going to happen now at the end of the video, given that his job, let's say, is a DJ? He might sound better. Yeah, possibly. What do you think is going to happen now? He's going to get fired. Well, let's see. Good. So all your predictions were lovely. Maybe he got sacked. We don't know, but he probably won't be invited back to DJ at that club. So the idea with students is obviously to get them to do exactly what you guys have just done now and say what they think is going to happen next. Many music videos are like this, like little short stories. So let's round up what we've looked at in this session. We looked at why it is that students don't necessarily like speaking, understanding their fears and effective filters. We were talking about why that's especially present with teenagers when they're trying to fit in. Allowing students to become more comfortable with their speaking. We looked at some flowcharts and some picture stories, and not being afraid of teaching students about fillers either. They use them plenty in their L1. It's certainly true here in countries, and we certainly do in English as well. Raising their awareness of that is great. Getting them to enjoy the speaking process. I think it's important to take time to let them see that it can be fun doing that, to reduce their stress. And maybe not everyone agrees with this, but I think using celebrities in that way, they all know about them, and I think it's engaging for them, and they all have opinions, let's face it. And finally,
yes, of course they will be. We send them to you. We'll also have the video available.
Students and helping them to become more independent. It's important for them to know how they're doing.
For you soon, once we've uploaded it.
But giving them positive as well as the improvable language to look at. So they realize
with the links from the website, and the slides will be available.
That what they are doing, a lot of it is good, and some of it can be improved to give them some more self-confidence and autonomy. So, oh, that's an interesting format that slides come out with. Thank you very much for listening,
Al. It was fantastic.
Everybody, and being involved. It's been a lot of fun. And does anybody have any questions?
Entertaining stuff, lots and lots of speaking, so I'm sure you're all ready to head off into class with your teens now and do even more speaking. Well, that's not the
no questions.
We've already
good.
Asking for an encore.
Very good, very good, very good. Thank you.
Will
the slides be made available?
I'm afraid no encores today, Nick.
Neil steps in
introducing encores in the future.
Comes along and says...
The encore will be our next extravaganza. Of course, I'd just like to remind you all of a couple of things.
Something.
And the biggest thing is our conference coming up on the 24th and 25th of May, IHWO 60. Where we'll have 60 speakers, including Alastair, myself, Nick, of course. Sean, Lisa, lots of speakers here.
Thank you, everybody.
Etc. And lots more. We'll have 60 speakers speaking over the 2 days, so please do come and join us for that. It's going to be an extremely exciting way of celebrating our 60-year anniversary. And I just have...
Oh, God.
It's really time to leave. Thank you all for coming. I'm going to close the room now. I have to rush off to the day job. So thank you all very much. Take care, everybody. I hope you all enjoyed the workshop. Hi, Johnny. Bye, Johnny. Rob. See you all soon. Thanks for your participation, Gavin. You sounded great on the microphone there. You'll have to come and do a talk yourself one day. So I'm going to close the room now. So thank you all very much for coming. Take care. Speak to you soon now.